Hey guys, welcome back to RPO Restorations. In today's video, we'll be talking about some of the other compact offerings from General Motors during the 80s and 90s. While they sold millions of Cavaliers during this period, some of the General's other J-car offerings did pretty well, and some didn't. A few of these cars offered some good, for the time, performance, styling, and looks, and some were basically a badge-engineered embarrassment. So let's take a look at the Pontiac Sunbird, Oldsmobile Firenza, Buick Skyhawk, and Cadillac Cimarron. Now, before we start working down the list, there's a couple of things I want to put out there. First, these were some dark days at General Motors. While some of us might look back on this era with rose-colored glasses, keep in mind, the build quality at this time was pretty bad. As the years went by, things got better, but fit and finish in the first few years were definitely substandard. Second, there was a lot of cost cutting going on with the quality of the materials used, especially on the interiors. I remember a lot of the plastic components just felt like they could break at any moment. I'm sure some of this had to do with saving weight, but not all of it. And finally, powertrains along the J line were pretty much the same, evolving as the years went by. Just about every car used a combination of the 1.8 liter, 2 liter, turbocharged 1.8 or 6-cylinder engine with or without fuel injection. Transmissions were also the same, ranging from a 3-speed automatic to a 4 or 5-speed manual, depending on the model. Now, having said all that, let's take a look at the J cars of the 1980s. We'll start with Pontiac. Debuting for the 1982 model year, the Pontiac J2000 was a replacement for the H-body Aster, which was technically discontinued after the 1980 model year, but had a long production run, so some cars would be available into 1981. Available in 4 body styles right out of the gate: a coupe, sedan, hatchback, and wagon. It debuted with the standard J-car 1.8 liter 4-cylinder, making 88 horsepower. A mid-year throttle body injection option was added a little later. All the cars in the J line started life with a lot of X-body suspension components, which made them heavier than the imports they were designed to fight. GM sold about 118,000 J2000s this year, which really wasn't bad. In 1983, the J was dropped from the name, and a 5-speed manual transmission was added as an option. The carbureted version of the 1.8 liter engine was also dropped. In 1983, a convertible was added to the lineup, and in 1984, the name was again changed with the word Sunbird being added after the 2000. By 1985, Pontiac dropped the 2000 prefix altogether, with the entire line being known as the Sunbird. This name would stick until 1995 when the body was restyled and the Sunfire name debuted. In 1985, a GT model was offered, featuring fender flares, hidden headlamps, and a turbocharged engine standard. 1987 saw a redesigned gauge cluster and 120 mile/hour speedometer for the turbocharged models. In 1988, the entire J-car line received a body refresh, and the Sunbird wasn't left out. It received a redesigned rear fascia, composite headlamps, and a redesigned roofline. The wagon would be discontinued after the 1989 model year, and the base coupe was called the LE model. In 1990, the coupes received an updated front fascia with hidden headlamps, a Pontiac staple during this period. Throughout the 90s, engine choices were updated, with the turbocharged 4-cylinders being phased out in favor of Chevy's 3.1 liter V6. The base 4-cylinder also grew in size over the years to 2 liters, and horsepower gradually increased until the car was redesigned and renamed for the 1995 model year. All told, Pontiac sold about 1.4 million Sunbirds during their 11-year run, making them fairly successful. Next, let's move up the GM food chain to Oldsmobile's J-car offering, the Oldsmobile Firenza. Debuting in 2-door hatchback and 4-door sedan form for the 1982 model year with the rest of the J-car lineup, it was a replacement for the discontinued Starfire. Powertrains were standard J-car with the 2-liter 4-cylinder standard. They eventually grew over the years, with displacement size gradually increasing and fuel injection being added. In the last 3 years of its run, from 1985 to 1988, a V6 option was also available. The Firenza never received a turbocharged 4-cylinder like Pontiac and Buick did. The Firenza featured its own front and rear fascia, sharing most of its other body panels with its J-Car siblings. The front fascia during most of its production was either love it or hate it, featuring 4 sealed beam headlamps, each side separated by an amber turn signal lamp. I for one like it because at least they made an attempt to make the car look unique wherever they could. This look would be changed to a more conventional setup during the 1988 or last model year of its run. The rear featured rectangular taillights, similar to but not the same as the Cutlass Sierra. The Firenza was offered in several trim levels throughout its run, featuring base, LX, S, SX, and GT models during its production. From 1983 to 1988, a wagon was also added to the lineup. The Firenza was discontinued after the 1988 model year. It was the second worst selling J-car throughout its run, with only a little over 282,000 being made over 7 years. I suspect this is because by this time, Oldsmobile's buyers were a little older, and Oldsmobile as a brand was known for producing bigger, more luxurious cars. Oldsmobile really wasn't the brand for a small compact. Next on our list is Buick's J-Car offering, the Skyhawk. Debuting in the 1982 model year in base and limited trim levels, powertrains were standard J across the line. It was soon offered with an optional 5-speed manual transmission, a rarity for Buick at the time, and something it wouldn't offer again for a number of years. It also shared a dashboard with the Oldsmobile Firenza. In 1983, a wagon model debuted just like the rest of the J-Car lineup got. In 1983, a T-Type package was offered with the Skyhawk. Aside from the appearance and suspension upgrades, buyers could opt for the optional 1.8-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine starting in 1984, the second year it was offered. 1986 saw the addition of hidden headlights to all Skyhawk models except for the base. I have to say, I really do think the hidden headlights were a great addition, especially with the Skyhawk's front fascia. Production of the Skyhawk continued through the 1989 model year with a few minor revisions along the way. All told, Buick sold over 500,000 Skyhawks during its 8-year production run. Last on our list, we have the Cadillac Cimarron. Based on the success of the 1977 Cadillac Seville, which was essentially a modified X-Body Nova chassis, and the success of the smaller European imports, Cadillac decided to expand its small car offerings and add the Cimarron to its lineup. With very little design time and a rather small budget, all Cadillac could do was alter the front and rear fascias and make a few changes to the interior. The results were predictably underwhelming. Debuting for the 1982 model year with the rest of the J-Car line, and only offered as a sedan, it was initially called Cimarron by Cadillac. With a relatively high MSRP and what was essentially a dressed-up Cavalier body, it didn't sell well. I'm not going to go too far into it, as there are a good number of deep dive videos out there that do a good job of telling its story. They sold about 152,000 Cimarrons during its 7-year production run, and surprisingly, many of the buyers were younger than the average Cadillac owner, so I guess it did work on some level. Now, most of these J-bodies are rotting away in the junkyard. They did fulfill their purpose while they were around though. A good first new car or just basic transportation. Did you own a J-body or work on them when they were all over the place? Let us know in the comments section. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.